So I think like a large recurring topic that always comes up on Paint and Talk always seems to be making fun of these like, alpha male self-improvement kind of guys. And after like kind of looking myself in the mirror, I feel like I've almost realized why I do it a little bit. And I think it's because like I'm so similar to these people, not in how I act, but in what I do. I think a common response I have when I, have a conversation with people like these, I'm friends with guys like that in real life, or, just seeing videos from them or anything like that, is like, I look at it and I'm like, that's like so normal, like you saying how you should read and go for a run every day is not some grand revelation. That's just like how, it's like that's not self-improvement. That's just being a person, is to like have hobbies, So it's always annoyed me for that reason. And I think the reason that I've come to have that is because like I do a lot of these things, but I don't call it anything special, right? And maybe it comes from like a slight feeling of superiority almost that I've maybe developed from seeing so much of this. I know me and my friend have had conversations where it's like, oh, they should just shut up and do it like we do, So maybe it comes from something like that. But for me, I think more than anything, it's kind of like comes from a crisis of meaning that I kind of feel is going on. And maybe this is me kind of trying to cloak like the fact that it could be coming out of my own ego, the way that I feel about these this archetype of guy, this space, right? But I do see it as that. Like genuinely, I do see it as sort of a crisis of ego, because I think that like self-improvement is almost a response to nihilism a lot of the time, right? When a lot of these guys will describe their experiences before they got into the space, they just describe an existential crisis, basically. Something that like I think a lot of people have had. It's not an exactly unique experience, especially in the modern day. I feel like that's something people should look into. Why are existential crises so much more common? Or maybe they're not, I don't know. But, out of this crisis of meaning, they find meaning in improving themselves. It's kind of like the over-under that I get from this. Like, they'll often drop a line like, I was living life without a purpose. And to me, I think the reason it annoys me, and this is going to come off as a little harsh, and that's because it is like, you're still living life without a purpose. Like, you waking up at 6 a.m. every day and going on a run and then going to the gym and reading before doing the same thing you would do any other day is not some newfound purpose in your life. It's a rigidity and a structure that's very nice. But I think to mix it up for some sort of grand purpose is a little bit, I don't want to say dangerous, because like I'm not the guy to say that, but I personally do view it as kind of dangerous. Because what do you do when you come to that realization that all you ever had was distractions from the lack of purpose? And that's what I really think it is. I kind of just spoiled the ending to my own train of thought here, but I really do feel it is that. I think it's a distraction from this nihilism that has come, from these people. Like, I think that there is a crisis in meaning. Like, I do genuinely believe that. I think it's such a played out thing now, but I do feel there's a crisis in meaning going on in one regard or another. And I don't think the response to it should be to just, or maybe it should, I don't know, maybe it's not a terrible response to it. I don't know, I think I just get very annoyed when it's like you're taking on these very normal things and it's calling them a meaning, but they're not really a meaning. You still don't have some grand purpose or desire that you're trying to accomplish. Your meaning is just working on yourself, which is great, by the way. I think, I don't want to rehash too much of discussions I've had in the past about like the whole self-improvement thing. But as I said in that episode about self-improvement, I do think it's great if you're just like, I like improving myself. I think that's awesome. I think though, to use self-improvement to combat a sense of meaninglessness is dangerous. I think that, because what do you do when you've improved but the circumstances around you haven't, right? And then I don't think that, and this is something I sort of disagree with that I said in the original self-improvement episode, right? I think that I do think that you can out-improve society in a sense. I've come to that conclusion. Not so much that you're gonna out-improve the problems of society, but more so that like, I do think you can find your own personal purpose that will distract you from the ills going on in the world. Like I think that's a conclusion I've come to. Just because I don't know why actually. Maybe that's another Paint Talk in its own right. But I don't think that having that purpose is going to be, I don't think self-improvement is that. I think it's being treated as that. It's almost like this, right? When you are hungry and you go to McDonald's and get a hamburger, that's not really real food. It makes you full and it tastes good, but like you're hungry in a little while again and eventually it's poisonous. And I think self-improvement's kind of the same thing. To me, it feels more like a distraction from answering those tough questions about what is my purpose? Why am I here? What do I want to do while I'm here? And I think part of the reason I found this, again, bring all this back to the way I, kind of found this through looking at myself, is that I think the reason I've always had this opinion is because I have had another purpose in my life. I've always had another purpose through it all, that being art. Art has always been what I've considered my purpose, whether, I was doing it for YouTube or just doing it alone. I think this is a very common thing in artists. I know that we have a great community of artists here, by the way, which is awesome. I have seen a lot of your guys' stuff. You've DM'd me and stuff, which is really cool, by the way. DM me more of your art. It's really cool stuff. I'm actually very happy with the amount of artists that watch this show. But that sidebar aside, I think that to be okay, my purpose is now this self-improvement has always rang as really dumb to me, because I'm sitting there no, the self-improvement is just a side dish. You know what I mean? Just how the peas and mashed potato, is that the phrase? The meat and potatoes is the main course. Oh, the peas are the other thing in the dish, right? Just how I've never, you don't go you're full after eating the peas. I don't think your life will be fulfilled after just improving and feeling better about your body image or whatever, which is awesome. Again, I want to reiterate that. I feel like when I shit on these guys, I don't get the message across enough that I do genuinely think it's still a net good at the end of the day. The other thing that I'm just thinking about right here as I say all this is maybe that in a large sense, this whole, maybe the crisis of meaning is almost a little bit manufactured. Maybe these guys aren't quite as in a crisis of meaning as they feel they are. Because I feel are you in a crisis of meaning? And I've seen guys do, I've had friends that did this on self-improvement. And I asked them about it after, and they were yeah, no, I just needed a girlfriend. I was just so lonely. I was so depressed. I just needed a girlfriend. So it's are there real existential crises happening here? Or is this crisis of meaning more so just people, I don't know. I don't people feeling that they need something, a little something else they don't have. Which one is it out of these two? I think that it's definitely a case-by-case scenario, but I do think there's probably a lot more people than I'm thinking that are just oh, I just, I should have just gone outside a little bit more. I feel that makes sense, right? Because if your existential crisis is solved with the gym, was it really an existential crisis? I don't know though, I'm not an existential crisis expert. We need one of those. People are having existential crises these days. The existential crises these days. It's a thing now, we need existential crisis experts. I think that should be a job. Because what's going on? This is a thing. I'm not even doing this as a bit right now. This is a thing. People, we need to get to the bottom of why all these random existential crises are happening now, because it's strange. There's never been a time to have an existential crisis like now. But I think, so the main thing here that I haven't even gotten to yet, and I feel I'm structuring this really bad. This is one of those days, so I recorded Paint and Talk from yesterday and today in one go, and I feel this is one of those days where I'm just not getting my thoughts out very well. I also think I chose two topics here that I find myself rehashing a lot of old Paint and Talk stuff, and I hate when I do that, so that could be part of it too. Just for transparency's sake, I'll throw that out there. But this I think, the main thing here that I haven't even gotten to yet is that the whole idea of the grind set of wake up every day and work on this thing. And, a big thing that I'll see a lot of the time is oh, you're only a couple months away from being a millionaire if you just sit and work all day, every day. And if you just want to go into some, business and just like get rich. That's awesome. That's good for you. That's sick. I don't see that as meaning. I don't see you starting another agency on the internet and, you know, grinding that out as being, if your agency has a really cool purpose, that's awesome. I think maybe that could be. I don't see people being like, oh, I'm just trying to like, you know, I just want to make a quick buck. I don't see that as meaning, right? Either way, I feel like I'm going too hard at this meaning stuff. I think that the thing that really made me think about this is like the way that like these guys view working, right? Is like, oh, I wake up, I'm gonna work on this all day, and I'm gonna go to bed, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, and eventually I'll be a millionaire. And I've never had that approach despite also getting so much done. And I think that's the self-reflection that made me come to this conclusion, made me want to talk about this, is that like, why is the grind set real when you can just do something you actually like? Like, why would you be like, I have no meaning in life, I'm going to grind on this business until I get rich, as if that's gonna fix anything, when you could actually just find something you're passionate about and dedicate your time that you spend grinding to that. You know, of course, things come along with that. This is why hobbies are called hobbies, right? Because you also need to like work a job and all that, you know. But I do think like it's a little bit strange to have this pick something and be like, I'm going to grind on this. We're gonna not do that. We're gonna collect ourselves and we're gonna move. We're gonna keep the conversation going. That was really poor choice of words. But isn't it weird to pick something and be like, I'm gonna grind. I'm going to work really hard on this when you don't even like the thing? Like, how do you expect to be successful? For me, the reason I've always been able to, you know, one of these guys, I was in a call with them, right? Talking about some stuff with YouTube and just like, you know, just chatting in general, because I'll talk to anybody, right? And like, they were like, oh, why don't you, like, you're gonna get burnt out on everything you do really soon. Maybe I will. I'm gonna knock on wood right now because I don't want to eat my words. But like, for me, I've never really felt like a full burnout. Like, I've never been like, I hate this so much, because I've always worked off of passion. Like, I've never done something being like, I'm going to work on this so hard and get rich. I've always done stuff straight off of passion, no other reason, because that's just like that's just what my mind always went to. You know what I mean? I never calculated some sort of like, oh, I'm gonna grind this really hard and make money off of it. It was, like I said, it's always been straight passion driving me in what I do. I've always had this purpose. I've never had this crisis of meaning. So I've never had to answer the question with a half response because you need to fill in the multiple choice. You know what I mean? That was kind of a deep metaphor, like a deep, not deep as in good. I don't think I came up with a good metaphor. I did not just start self-glazing on video. I mean, deep as in like, that was like a little bit too hidden to make sense, I feel like. But like, so like what I'm trying to say though is like, I think a lot of the times, you know, when you get into space like this, I had a friend who did this once. He was like, he got into the self-improvement stuff, which is cool. Again, the running, the working out, all that stuff is awesome. But then he was like, okay, I found out like my purpose. Like, I'm going to start 3 businesses. And I was like, okay. And he was like, one's gonna be a photography company, one's gonna be, I forget the other 2, right? And I would see him work on these every day. And it's like, can you like, is it really your purpose if you just like found it like that? Like, is that how that works? I'm not trying to say it in any sort of dismissive, well, I am saying it in a dismissive way, I guess. But like, I'm really not trying to. I think what I'm more so like trying to ask here is just like, is it your purpose if you can just decide it like that, you know? Like, if you can just come to me one day and be like, my 3 companies I'm starting are the purpose of my life. Like, I don't think that counts. I don't think that's how that works. And I don't think, you know, again, art is something that's given me purpose throughout my whole life. Do I think art is the meaning of my life? I don't know. I mean, like, you know, I'm not, like, how am I, you know, who knows? Maybe, I hope so. That'd be cool. But I you know, I'm not gonna play God here with my own life. But art has given me a purpose, though. You know what I mean? Art has definitely fended off a sense of nihilism and a sense of existentialism that I might have had otherwise. And which it still happens every now and again, by the way. I do want to stress that, actually. This is something I've talked about before. Like, I still do go through that every now and again, like an existential kind of dread that comes a lot. But ignoring that, I think that, like, your purpose kind of has to find you, you know? And I think that's why this concept of the grind set has always annoyed me so much, because it's people running and trying and begging for purpose till they come to the wrong answer, instead of just actually putting in the work and being like, okay, like I see what I could do with my life. I see the way I could make these things go. And I guess it's sort of a little fucked up, actually, for me to come here and critique this. Or at least that's how I'm feeling right now as I'm doing it. Because, like, having a crisis of purpose and looking for any answer and coming to an answer that I find annoying is not necessarily a wrong thing. It's just annoying to me because I don't think that's how it works. You know? I guess, like, for me to say all this is very, I don't know, is it self-serving? It feels a little self-serving, right? Because, like, you know, the way that people don't have meaning is a really hard thing to go through. I think like alienation was something we were talking about the other day. I do think that feeling that you have a sense of no meaning is definitely a form of very potent alienation, and it's something hard to go through. But I just think that maybe this is more a indictment then of the space than the people in it, because I think that, you know, it's upsetting to me when I have somebody come to me and be like, I found my purpose in life, and it's my new little thing I'm going to start with a Squarespace. But it's probably more upsetting that, like they're genuinely being guided to go do that. Like, that's like there are internet industries based around that right now. And, like, people are making money off the exploitation of guiding people into thinking that, like, meaning can be found through just getting rich, you know? We already worship wealth so much and are so alienated from one another, and to be like, no, your life is gonna get easy, you just need to make as much money as me, I think is such a fucked up answer. I think it's so bad that we have that mindset right now. And I think I'm so fortunate that I grew up knowing people who were, you know, living lives that were not normal, you know? Like, they weren't following the normal route of, like, going to college and getting like a nice job, and they kind of went with the motions until they felt that their purpose found them, until they felt the right direction to go in. But I guess if I never saw that, you know, if all I ever had were people telling me I need purpose and I could never find that purpose, maybe I wouldn't be here saying that art is a purpose and has given me a guiding light in life, but rather that it is my guiding light, and blindly follow it just because the light is too bright and the darkness is too dark, the contrast is too high. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like this talk went in a weird direction. I am having an off day, as I said, so please forgive me. This painting, though, is pretty solid. I wanted to do the red face scream from Paint&Talk 47. I've said before, favorite painting, right? I wanted to do it again, and for two reasons. One, terrible painting yesterday. I wanted a good one, just full transparency. This painting's basically out of ego in a way, right? I wanted it to be good after yesterday was bad. Two, I wanted to see if I could do it again, because I said, like, the 2 days after that, I painted another faces and they're really bad. So I was like, I wonder if I could do it again, or if that was just a really lucky day. I don't think it's quite as good. I think I was still lucky, but I definitely had the ability to make a face. So that's cool, but yeah, check this out over on the Instagram, all the whole nine, the angles, the up, down, the over, under. You guys know the drill at this point. And until tomorrow, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint and Talk, episode 59. I'm here painting and talking every morning with you. Paint and Talk 60 tomorrow, everybody.